like I think it was also kind of okay, I'm not trying to be like presumptuous or be like I like marked like a shift in HSA or something. But I think it was like a combination of I think your guys' like class as well. Like when y'all came in, I'm not saying like HSA before was like terrible or even that like I don't even know what I'm saying. Give me a second.
But our class isn't like our grade.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
mine
So
is grade.
or like the two new classes that like followed me.
Okay, good. The two new core classes.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
But so that was like a lot of members of 2023.
Yeah, there's a lot of members.
Yeah. So basically, like, I think before y'all kind of joined, and I guess like in a part like before, like existing core also kind of branched out, like me joining a dance team, yeah, but like also other people doing other things. I think it was like there was just like perception, like partly in HSA and also kind of like outsiders looking at in on HSA that like
kind of a bubble, kind of almost.
Yeah, it's like a bubble. Like everyone kind of ascribes to a certain type or like you know, like there's not that much diversity going on. Like you hear Hindu Students Association, you just like assume what the person is gonna look like, right?
Yeah.
Like there's just like image like pops.
No, yeah.
No, for sure.
And it's like,
you know.
yeah, right. Like oh my god, like literally I think people have said before that they've gotten questions like, what do you do all day? Do you just like sit and pray?
Like, oh my god, really?
Yeah,
wow.
Because like you know there's just like certain connotations are associated with like different labels. And I think like we kind of started branching out. Like I joined a dance team, other people were doing other things. Like y'all's new classes are so like diverse and you all do so much on top, like outside of HSA. HSA doesn't define you and you are like so much more than this one org, and that shows in like everything you're passionate about and like everything that you like bring to the org, like the perspectives that you bring and everything. And I think it like all of that combined kind of helped mark like a transition within HSA of like I think I really like the way that Abe puts it, but he always says like HSA is not a monolith. Like there is no one type of person that can be in this org. There is no one type of person that like,
should be in this
org, right? Like should be in this org. Like we love the diversity. Like every person has such like unique perspectives, and that adds to this like collective group that we formed. And it helps us like not be a bubble. Like we don't want this to be an echo chamber. We want to understand like the variety of perspectives out there.
That's true. And not everyone in HSA is like the same level of religious. Like there's a lot of doctors in HSA who still question the religion and or like kind of pseudo Hindus, right? They like grew up with Hinduism, but they aren't really like that's kind of me. You know, I'm not super assured of my Hinduism and whether I really believe in religion, but I love what we do. You know, I love the conversation that we foster, and learning about it is, I think, one part of understanding it.
Yeah. And I think that's like another thing. Like I've heard from so many people, like I don't know anything about Hinduism. Like I've always wanted to know more, but like I don't know that much, so I don't know if I can come out to the meetings, and like I feel like I'll just be lost. And it's like, honestly, in some ways, the fact that you don't know, quote unquote, know much is like a good thing.
Is a better perspective, yeah.
Yeah, because it like helps provide like an
outside perspective,
outsider view on like and help question the beliefs and stuff in a new way, right? Yeah. And it's like if everyone came in with the same understanding, like we would go nowhere.
Yeah, you kind of like normalize like a lot of the stuff that to outsiders might be like, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? Like
question,
yeah, that we should be questioning, but like if you grow up with it and stuff, like you don't really question it. Like you're kind of conditioned to it. Like, really
growing up with it is a big thing though. Like when I grew up with Hinduism and I started to like see through some of the bullshit, I got angry at Hinduism, not my parent, like not like growing up with Hinduism, right? So I started to separate myself from what I learned growing up, but that's not necessarily what Hinduism is. You know,
no, that's right.
Like moving away from Hinduism was just a need to be independent in a way. But I think you start to discover it as you build a sort of independent identity for yourself. And
I feel like that's just a large part of what college is.
College is.
Yeah, like college is. I mean, a lot of it is like. I mean, I always had this conversation like high school. I mean, sure, you're like going through like a lot of stuff, but I feel like in high school everything's kind of set out for you in a sense, and like you're just kind of on a set of railroad tracks. Sometimes those railroad tracks might be more bumpier than others, but you're on those railroad tracks and you can't go anywhere else. Like you're kind of just chugging along. Sometimes you might go slower, sometimes you gotta go faster, but like you're not like an amusement park where you get to choose which roller coaster you get to go to. You're just, you're kind of just like going along. But like college is just like, you're by yourself. You have to make so many decisions. I mean, you're choosing which aspects.
Bro, that's when you get to the parking lot, bro.
Yeah, that's when you get to the parking lot and you're like, oh shit.
You got keys in your hand and you're like, holy shit. Like, oh. Yeah, no, that's a good analogy. That's a good facts. But speaking of that, so that's a good transition into like your Hindu identity growing up at Gauree. How did you grow up with Hinduism? What was your experience with that?
Yeah, so I think my family is like pretty religious. I grew up going to Chinmay Mission, so very much like grew up with Hinduism. But I
How
think
was that like Chinmay Mission?
it was good. I think it was like really good to have like an Indian community and like to just like grow up with religion kind of being a part of my life. I think that's like another thing I was gonna say about like the last question about like the last thing that we were talking about like the variety of opinions and stuff. I think part of it is also like Hinduism and Indian culture are quite tied together. So I feel like if you are someone who quote unquote like didn't grow up super religious, like that culture still exists, right? And like there are still practices that you have been shaped by. And so those perspectives are really valuable too, right? Like Hinduism in like any of its forms is like how you've experienced Hinduism in any of its forms adds like value to
value.
But yeah, but I grew up like going to Chinmay Mission, like we went to camps and like we learned about like the Vedanta and all that stuff. And it was really nice. Like it was like good like socially. There's actually I actually like know like a lot of people on core from Chinmay Mission. Like I met like I've like grown up with them and stuff. Yeah.
Shout out Abe. He's on maternity leave.
Yeah, Abe. Abe's on maternity leave. Yeah.
Like I knew, so like I grew up with Ishan. I grew up with Avani, who was like
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
A long time. Abe, I actually met at like a camp and then a retreat before college.
I
was curious about that because he's from India.
He's from Chicago.
He's from Chicago, right?
How did that happen?
It's like Chinmay Mission is just like very connected, like in like globally. Like,
but how'd you guys see each other? You're from Texas. Like what? I mean, how connected do you have to be to just
like national camps and stuff?
There's national camps and stuff. Okay. See, neither of us were in Chinmay Mission, so I think that's where we were.
Sorry. Yes, I should. Yeah, it's like Chinmay Mission has like national camps, and actually, summer before college, like this is like one of the most formative experiences of my life. But like summer before college started, I did this retreat through Chinmay Mission. It was like a 2-month retreat, and we're like, like not like in the woods, but we're on this like I kind of like isolated like property, like cabins and that kind of thing for like 2 months, like no phones, no technology, like you're only really interacting with the people that you're at the camp with. And Abe was one of the people, so we also became really good friends through that. But I think it's just like there's like, so I don't think those necessarily made me more Hindu, if that makes sense. Like it's like the biggest takeaway for me was, I guess, like kind of how it shaped the way that I viewed college and the way that I like decided to like step forward into like adult life. You know, like having that confidence, having like that self-love, like not being afraid to do difficult things and like not being afraid to like introspect and grow and learn. And I think like that's like really where Chinmay Mission has like set me up for this. Like, yes, like I do appreciate everything I've learned about Hinduism, and I've like really appreciated like having that knowledge base to like rely on, and things like that, and just like knowing more about like Hinduism and like Hindu culture, and being able to like contribute in that way to the discussions that we have. But I think the biggest thing for me was just like, I don't know, like the way that I learned to have a relationship with myself. You know, I think in high school I was like like a lot of people, like I dealt with a lot of insecurity, a lot of doubt. Like I didn't take all the chances I should have because I was so scared of like what could go wrong. I really like, yeah, I don't know. I just like really didn't love myself. And I'm not
That's
saying I'm
true.
the best at it now, but I think it's like
It's kind of a lot
I
better.
huh? Yeah, it's gotten better. I think I like I love myself for trying.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I love myself for like wanting to be better. And when I mess up, like I don't get mad at myself for like think I'm like a terrible person. It's more like, okay, like this is a learning opportunity. Where can I go from here? I've become so much more comfortable like being on my own and being able to introspect and like sit. I think like a lot of people like our generation, me included, like
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like I definitely have gone through this myself. I think we're really bad at just like being by ourselves, like sitting, not in our generation, like people, period. We're so bad at just like dealing with everything that's going on in our heads,
Yeah.
For sure. Mm-hmm.
right? Like, how, like, people keep themselves busy all the time because they don't want to just like sit and like think and like deal with like everything they have to deal with. And like, especially with social media, like, it's so easy to be distracted. Like, even when
Like
you're,
caught up.
you can be on your phone and like not like just sit. And I think I've gotten a lot better at that. Like I'm not afraid of like confronting my feelings or emotions or whatever it is I'm going through. Like